my issues with research. So start with the top one. So last night we went to see Cheltenham Science Festival. I should have been there today. We went to see Richard Dawkins and Dr. Jan, and I forget his second name, was on Bangor's A Theory. And they're talking about the ancestor's tale. And I've been to the Cheltenham Science Festival the last 4 years. It's very interesting listening to real scientists speak. So when Brian Cox speaks, he interchanges energy and power. Now, we're not allowed to do that. It's very, very bad. If I'm observing one of my teachers and they do that, I will tell them off for doing that. But he can, and because he knows the difference. So they were talking last night, and they were talking about junk DNA, and somebody put their hand up at the end and says, well, it's not really junk I don't understand about it, really. But they go, it's not really junk DNA. And Dr. Jan was, no, but it is junk DNA because, and just using and throwing about these terms, well, I know what I mean when I use this word, so I can use it that way. But this is, I think, a big problem with educational research. We have this term mastery. So I don't know whether you've been in Tony's session, and Tony has spent 2 or 3 times, he said, the way I'm describing mastery is not the same as mastery maths. So your maths department, I didn't know that, but your maths department come down and go, you should be doing mastery. We are doing mastery. Well, but you're not doing mastery because you should be doing, that could cause a big problem. I remember seeing Tim Oates. I've seen him twice, thankfully, so I can say that the second time was extremely positive, brilliant speaker. But the first time, he's using, I can't remember the word, because it didn't mean anything to me, so I can't remember the word, but this sort of phrase that meant the learning objectives, not the ones that we would use in the classroom, but the ones that you start, when you're starting to develop a specification that you'd start with. So sort of but I don't want to say the outcomes of a specification because I'm still not entirely sure what he was talking about. And I'm sat there thinking, what's he talking about? What's he talking about? And not Robin Miller is sat in the front nodding sagely, yes, you're exactly right, Tim. I didn't understand his talk because I didn't understand the terminology that he was using. But he was using, the same way we would in science, and use energy or power, he was using those words because he needed to get across that he meant what he meant. He couldn't loosely use learning objective because it's got too many different understandings of the word. And when I have tried to read proper papers, don't understand them because I don't hang around with researchers using the words. I've seen, when I see Chris Harrison speak, she uses formative assessment instead of AFL. Now, she's got a good reason for doing that, to make the distinction. But we never use the word formative assessment at school. So are we getting it wrong? As that terminology, I think, is a big barrier. My husband last night, he said, well, growth mindset, that's the same as I can do it. I don't know whether you had to go through I can do it, either as a student or as a... No, you're lucky you. My first school, we were doing... And I'm going, I don't think it is, but because they call it growth mindset, you decide, based on the word growth and mindset, what that is. But of course, Carol Dweck is using those words to mean her definition. And then it all gets... The SLT mangler is what we like to call it. The other issue, and I know that the IOP have moved on, but it's a good example, is they often give you stuff that's sort of outcomes, not ideas. So, and I don't mean to be negative about the IOP research, I actually think it's extremely important, but the research into girls in physics, and I don't know whether you've seen it, you should definitely go and look at it if you have not. So I remember sitting in an ASE conference and listening to it. I think her name is Claire Thompson, the first report showing how some schools have so many more girls going on to do A-level physics than other schools, and there's a massive difference. And then they looked at English, the sciences, maths, and I think it might have been psychology was the other one, and found that some schools are much better at getting the gender balance right than others. But that doesn't help me. That does not help me know what to do or what to say to my girls to make them do physics. Now, it was really important for them to show that there is a problem, but often research is just going, this is what happens, not what to do about it. Well, I'm seeing an IOP badge, I'm so sorry.
Something will be out in September.
All right, oh, excellent, there we go. Right, that's a good example. I've heard Michael Rice talk, and he talks about why students choose it's always about why they choose, and let's have more STEM people. And it was the outcomes of surveys. It's not, well then how do I, if it's the parents that are influencing, what do I do about it? I don't know. And then you've got putting it into practice. I really recommend, if you get the opportunity to hear, and I keep raving about her, Shirley Simon. So I went, this is last year, this is another ASE conference. I went to the researchED conference, and I really recommend that if your head teacher will let you out. It's in June this year, so I won't be going because it was in July last year and I could go. And I saw speak about effective CPD, and I know there's a lot of research into that. And of course, there's no point in us knowing the research if we don't have the CPD and the conditions to put it into practice. And the things that she was saying about you actually as a teacher, you need resources. So you need to have something to take away to do. So they were producing sort of activities and worksheets and that sort of thing for the teachers that they were working with to go and use. They were making video blogs. There was 2 of them involved in this project in each school so that they could discuss with each other. And she said it wasn't as effective if the 2 teachers did not get on with each other. And it needs to be over a period of time in order to embed it. Now, you're here listening to me today, but then there's no follow-up. Unless there's 2 of you come, and I've heard the STEM Learning Centres say this, I don't think it's just trying to get paid twice by 2 people coming. CPD is far more effective if you send 2 people from your school, but what school allows you to do that? So all of those things become a bit of a problem. And then I'm head of department, for myself personally, I'm head of department, so I can't put something in place because I've got to do my GCSE entries this week. I've got to check reports next week. I've got to go and observe everybody and feed back to them the week after that. So when have I got time to really sit down and think, this is the bit of research, so how am I going to design my lessons? I'm just going to pick up what I did last year and run with it. So difficult. And then I've put real research. I'm going to be really mean about people. How do I know? I've bought these books. So I want to talk about this one later. So I've bought this. I've gone to Foyles in London, and I'll tell you the story about this book in a bit. And I've bought this book. How do I know that poor James Williams knows what he's talking about? How do I know that it's not somebody who has decided that they know what they're talking about and written a book? Is it true? Does it have an impact, what they're telling me to do? Or is it just some ideas that pass the time? And I don't know how you know that, because I can't measure my own outcomes, I suppose, of doing that. So that's sort of my issues with how do I know what I'm doing and how do I integrate with research.